Okay, Phil, filthy night tonight, a long way away from home again, and that was a really tricky night, wasn't it?
It's only a tricky night for one reason and one reason only. We didn't look like to a man we were up for the fight, and that includes me, that includes my backroom staff, that includes the bench, that includes everybody involved at the football club. It was almost like we started the game like we'd cracked it because we'd beaten Oxford City on Saturday with a good performance. I made a few changes for that game, and I made a few changes for this game. Did I get the team selection wrong? It looks to me as if I did. Did I get the system wrong? It looks to me as if I did. But I can't keep on holding my hands up for everybody's mistakes. I think people have got to start stepping up to the plate and accepting responsibility. And I can't believe some of the conversations I'm having with individual players at this moment in time. It's almost like they don't want to accept responsibility for playing for Peterborough Sports. And if that's the case, we're going to be in big trouble. It's going to be a long old season. I need people that are going to accept responsibility. And at the moment, I don't appear to have that from game to game. We had players on Saturday that accepted responsibility for how we played. And it's quite easy to be involved in a winning team because of that. But being involved in a team that's 4 down at half-time and we're crying out for a floodlight to bail us out, it's just not on for me. Again, unacceptable performance, but I don't know. Second half, we almost got a little bit of pride back in the performance, almost, but we couldn't even win the second half.
Undone early on, those 4 goals were undone early on by a very good goal, I thought, early on, but then the other 3 we should have really dealt with, didn't we?
Listen, I've got an experienced goalkeeper that I said that I wanted to reward the young lad that played so well on Saturday against Oxford City. And I don't think too many people would have disagreed with it, you know. But at the same time, the protection of that young goalkeeper was non-existent. We had 3 centre-backs that didn't put their bodies on the line in front of him. And then consequently, we've got 2 wing-backs that allowed crosses to come into the penalty box. And when you've got crosses coming into the penalty box, something's going to spill. And it spilled for Darlington tonight. They got just rewards for committing to going forward. To be brutally honest, I wasn't expecting the kind of performance that Darlington produced. They were outstanding in moments in the game where I thought, you know, if we just hold ourselves together, we maybe get something from this game. But at half-time, it was party over. We tried to climb a mountain. It got to 4-2. We had a couple of chances, but the game became such a basketball game, and it's not that kind of a game for me. You know, football's football, basketball's basketball, and if I've got a group of players out there, when we've got the ball, I want them to create, but when the opposition have got the ball, I want them to be resilient and organised and stop the opposition from playing, and we didn't do any of that.
You mentioned those crosses, and you mentioned the failure before in games, the failure to get ahead on crosses that come into the box. They seem to have done their homework on us at the start because those crosses rained in, didn't they? And was that why you brought Kevin Joshua on really earlier and took Ashton Fox off?
A little bit of both. I mean, you're only talking about an inch or 2 difference between the 2, the stature of the 2. But I felt as if there was, from probably minute 1 right the way through to minute 20, 25, I thought the problems that we were having down the right-hand side and the shared responsibility from Marcel Oakley and Ashton Fox was there for me to see and everybody else to see. And I wanted to try and block that hole. I wanted to try and block that side of Darlington's attack. And don't get me wrong, you know, he's a talented lad, the boy that was playing out there. But bottom line is, you know, we've got to do something about it. And consequently, when we couldn't do anything about it, I made a change. And then I made another change, which was probably a little bit more elaborate in the second half because it was, you know, 4-2 the score. If we managed to get our noses to 4-3, we might have had a half a chance of getting something from the game. But I said to the players at half-time, win the second half. And that's at least a little bit of pride back in the performance for the travelling supporters, of which, you know, you could probably count on 2 hands. Just put a bit of pride in the shirt, pride in the badge. And we did to a certain extent. And then at the end of it, you know, we conceded a 5th. Was I expecting to get something from the game at half-time? Probably not. But if it goes 4-3, when we had a couple of half sniffs at the back post with Ben Beresford, maybe you can just climb that mountain. But we huffed and puffed and we didn't get anything from the game. But damage was done too early for me. The damage was done probably with my team talk. I was probably heaping a little bit of praise on players from Saturday's performance, and I'll never do that again. Trust me on that one.
Well, you brought Kane Felix on second half, and he had a lot of space down this right-hand side. And at that point, maybe a bit of Darlington taking their foot off the pedal. They've got an important game against Spennymoor here next week. I think they were the talk upstairs was that they'd probably save some people for that, and they thought the game was won. Kane had a lot of space down the right-hand side here, and we just couldn't find that quality to get the ball in, could we?
I brought Muzza on at half-time on the far side, and we couldn't get enough ball to him. He just didn't seem to be affecting the game in the first 15 minutes of the second half. When I brought Kane on this side, it stretched them right-hand side or left-hand side, and consequently because of that, Muzza decided to get more involved, and crosses started coming in probably in the last 20-25 minutes of the second half. But Kane's a threat with his pace for sure. When I took Anthony Stewart off and replaced him with Marcel at right-hand side centre-back, did we need Anthony's height? Only at set pieces, and that's something that I have to analyse. But even with the height that we had, we seemed to be a lot bigger today, a lot stronger, a lot taller, and yet we couldn't find our head on the ball in the 6-yard box. When every corner came in, it was a problem, it was a threat. These are things that we have to iron out, and it isn't anything to do with the talent of the player. It's more important, it's the heart of the player. And if we haven't got the heart in trying to survive in this tempestuous campaign that we'll find ourselves in, looking outside and looking at weather coming down, it's going to be like that for the next 2 or 3 months, and we need players that are going to step up to the plate. Tonight we didn't have, I don't think I can count on one hand how many players we had step up to the plate in the first half. Second half, yeah, we huffed and puffed a little bit and got a little bit of pride back in the performance, but that's too late for me.
And what do you think you've got to do then to make those people fight for the shirt and fight for sports?
I thought we had that kind of fight, having made 8 changes on Saturday, and going into a game which is a cup competition, which is the glamour puss game. It's the glamour puss side of the game. It's not my cup of tea. Bread and butter is the league, but we've come up against a very good Darlington side who got their comeuppance on Saturday against FC United, and they were smartened from that, and they responded to it. I think that's what players do at this level, and that's not being disrespectful. When they get a kick up the backside from the opposition, the following game seems to be a difference in the players. There seems to be a galvanised state of affairs, and I think that's what Darlington did. They started the game off properly, as opposed to us. We didn't. We found ourselves 2 goals down in a short space of time, but we prepared the players for that. Give ourselves that mountain to climb, and we didn't climb it.
Back to Pim's Park then now, 2 home games on the trot. One against probably our closest rivals in this division, Bedford Town. That's a great chance to get back on track, isn't it?
It's the next game's always a good chance. The next game, we've got to dust ourselves down from this, and there's a lot to take from this game, but it's in a negative frame of mind. It would be nice to get back on the training ground tomorrow if I could do, but I can't do that. We've got to think about what we're doing on Thursday, because there'll be a few tired bodies from Saturday, Tuesday, if the ones who have been played. But we've got to prepare them properly for back-to-back home games and try and get maximum points. But I'm not looking any further than Saturday. The first game is the most important game. And we've got to bring my A game to the table. We've got to bring my A game to the table for every match, if truth be known, Nigel. And if that's the case, I'll be a happy man. But we didn't bring my A game to the table. In fact, we didn't bring my X game to the table today. It was poor from, I was going to say start to finish, but poor from minute 1 to minute 45, and then, I don't know, raised a little bit of a gallop, but too much too late.
Well, hard lines tonight, Phil. Thank you very much for talking to us. Appreciate that, and we'll see you again at the weekend.
Thank you.